Welcome back. In so many of our country towns, Anzac Day commemorations wouldn't be the same without the support from the local RSL.
And in one small community near the border of New South Wales and Victoria, a very special group of women are forging a new chapter for the organisation. And Lara Vella travelled to there to meet them.
On the edge of the Murray is the town of Corowa, and on this day, every year, locals gather around the memorial clock, a permanent reminder of the town's fathers and sons taken during the Great War. But nowadays, Corowa's connection to the Anzac story of service and sacrifice has a new chapter, thanks to these women.
You were a bit of a sort back then.
Like to think so.
Does she let all of you know?
Oh, yes.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yes. Often.
Leslie, Susie, Lorraine and Lucille are part of the first ever all-female sub-branch of the New South Wales RSL, an organisation that not so long ago was men only.
RSL has really been very much a man's club. It's just really nice to think that the group here, the sub-branch, appreciate what we do.
In 1963, a young teenager from the country with big dreams of travelling the world, Leslie Reinhardt joined the Royal Australian Navy.
I was just 17. I went in as a steward. My girlfriend and I from high school, we decided we were going to join the Navy, see the world. When we did our 4 years, we were going to head off on cruise ships to be stewards. But I spoiled it all by getting married, so that stopped that.
What did that mean for your career, getting married back then?
We had to get out. Women had to get out of the services when they got married back in the 60s, and we didn't get any medals. There were so many things that didn't happen that have changed.
In the mid-1960s, the decision to get married also derailed the career aspirations of Lucille Thomas, an aircraft woman in the Air Force.
Yeah, I was 18 when I joined, and it was quite funny because back in those days we used to get the Herald in the evening newspaper, and my mother spotted an ad in the paper and she knew I was keen on the services. And at 18 you weren't an adult, so I had to get her signature. So I said, oh, would you sign? She said yes. 2 months later I was in the Air Force. But when we got married we had to, like Leslie, any servicewoman, it's amazing, why didn't the servicemen have to get out when they got married?
Today, 17% of New South Wales RSL members are women, with numbers continuing to grow. And according to these ladies, they bring some extra special qualities to the role.
So is this the most productive and, I dare say, talkative that the RSL executive branch has ever been with all girls?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, you could definitely say yes to that.
Much more organised.
Much more organised.
And behind all of these photos on this table are stories and memories, each with their own unique and shared connection. And on Anzac Day are reminded of their time in the service or are inspired by the sacrifice of loved ones.
Had an uncle who served time in New Guinea, and he told me some horrific stories of some of the things that happened to him while he was serving time in New Guinea. And I always think about him at that time, and I also think about my partner and some of the stories he told me of being on the ships off the coast of Vietnam.
And then when Anzac comes along, Anzac Day, and I realise just what my father, let alone everybody else's parents, mums and dads, if both involved, exactly what they put their lives on the line for, which was for us.
And now they too are paving the way in the vital support offered to veterans and their families, inspiring the next generation of servicemen and especially servicewomen.
Some girl power.
Girl power.
We got that all right.
You found it in spades.
We
quite
found
clearly.
it. Took a while, but we found it.
When everything falls into place.
Welcome back, everyone. As the nation marks one of the most significant days on the calendar, it's vital we remember the importance of looking after our servicemen and women once they leave the battlefield.
RSL New South Wales President Ray James joins us live now in Sydney. Ray, good morning. Thanks so much for your time this morning. Now take us through the importance of RSLs for servicemen and women past and present.
Well, it's very important, and Anzac Day is the start, the dawn service is the start of our full Anzac Day commemorations, and pleased to say that at Martin Place this morning at the cenotaph we had over 7,000 people attend the service. It was very moving.
Ray, what does this do for servicemen and women when they see Australia turning out in such force right across the country today, from the country towns to the coast, everywhere?
Yeah, it makes a serviceman, as myself, feel very, very honoured that people come out and pay their respects to all servicemen and women who served our country. And being Anzac Day, as we know, the Anzac legend was forged in Gallipoli in 1915. But Anzac Day today is remembering all wars and conflicts and peacekeeping missions that Australians have been part of for over a century. And look, the latest census in 2021 shows that every household in Australia either knows a veteran or has a family member who's a veteran. And I encourage everyone today to contact a veteran, contact your mate and see how they're going, because today is a very special day for veterans, remembering their mates, the camaraderie and that in the Defence Force. And today is a special day just to remember all that.
Yeah, and Ray, as you mentioned, really an incredible turnout at this morning's very moving service. What do you have planned for the rest of the day?
Well, at 9 o'clock we'll be doing the Sydney Anzac Day March down Elizabeth Street, and then at 12:30 at the War Memorial Hyde Park will be another commemorative service, and then I'm off to Allianz Stadium to say the ode at the Anzac service prior to the Dragons and Roosters game.
Ray, thank you for your service. What goes through your mind on a day like today?
I look like most veterans. I've got family members. My dad was a Kokoda Track World War II veteran. I had another brother, just a bit younger than me, who's passed away. He also served in the Navy with me during Vietnam. We served in Vietnam on different ships. But also my son, who's a Timor veteran, my grandson, who's currently serving in the Royal Australian Navy. He's been in 3 years, he's just turned 20. He was here this morning with me, along with my son and my son-in-law, who also served in the Army. But look, the other things is too, I joined the Navy at a very young age, at age 15, and two of my colleagues who I served with, joined the Navy with and served with, passed away recently, and I officiated at their funeral, saying the ode and their farewell. So times like this, and especially when the ode is recited, the last post is sounded and the reveille, I would think of all those, my friends and my family members and my colleagues.
Okay. Thank you so much for being with us, mate. Appreciate it.
We all do, Ray. Thank you.
Welcome back to the show. Well, you probably heard of the Invictus Games, and Prince Harry and all that. He started the foundation nearly a decade ago, inspired by the power of sport and how it can help those battling mental or physical challenges.
The goal is to help reintegrate veterans back into normal life using sports to inspire that recovery. Let's bring in Jai Martin, a veteran in Newcastle, and James Brown from the Invictus Games Australia here in the studio. Thank you both so much for your time. Jai, I want to come to you first. Today is such an incredible day for the country to come together and remember your service. Thank you for your service. How do you reflect on a day like this?
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for that. Today's a very special day, and for me it's all about bringing the family together and to remember those that have served. We attend the local dawn service down here at Medowie, and come down, remember those that have served not only at Gallipoli and on the beaches at Gallipoli, but for those that have served across all conflicts in the past.
Yeah, and we remember those too, who obviously passed away, giving their lives to this country, but many came back with lifelong injuries, right? And you were amongst those who suffered a great deal, and that road back, not easy.
Yeah, you're right there, Carl. I suffered a life-changing back injury while deployed back in 2017, and yeah, it's been a bit of a recovery for me, but one thing sport has definitely played a massive part in that, and a huge thank you to Invictus Australia for providing me that pathway. And now I'm lucky enough to work for them and help the veteran community on their road back to recovery.
James, I want to bring you in there. You served overseas. Today is an incredibly important day, and wrapping Invictus around it as well is so important for those veterans who came back with these injuries, right?
We've been enormously lucky with Invictus, so we'll take 31 athletes, their families, their dogs, their wheelchairs, their kids over to Europe this year to compete against veterans from all across the world. And then we've got people like Jai who are doing that at a grassroots level in places like the Hunter, where we know there are heaps of veterans living who connect with us. We connect them into sport. We connect them with major sporting codes. We do a lot of work with the NRL and other sporting codes, and it's all about getting them active in a community, putting a community around them, bringing a positive force to their lives, and it's life-changing.
A lot of this stuff is psychological, and I can't imagine or comprehend the things that you saw. What difference does this make?
This makes a huge difference. You know, I've been lucky enough to be involved with Invictus Australia as chairman now, but before that as one of the directors for the Sydney Invictus Games. That was such a powerful moment to help Australians see what veterans can do, to help them understand what they've been through, to give them some sense of ownership for the veterans who've served and particularly those that have come back and are having a tough time. And it's amazing that we've been able to get so many people over to the games and so many people competing, whether it's just family days where they're playing archery or whether it's more serious elite level sport.
I guess days like this are obviously so important because it would be almost impossible to return from service having not felt the impact of what you're doing over there.
Completely. I mean, look, the tie I'm wearing today belonged to a guy called Andrew Christie, one of my friends who I deployed to Iraq with in 2005, who sadly took his own life 6 years ago, leaving behind a 2-year-old daughter. And we know from the Royal Commission into Veteran and Defence Suicide that there are a lot of people who've had really tough times, but we know that we're doing a lot more for them. We're putting a lot more around them. The government's stepping up. And because of the census question, we now know where veterans live and what we can do for them.
Good on you. It's so important. Jai, just finally with you, you've got your family around. 4 of your beautiful kids, or 3 and a half, are there with you today. Do you get that they have a sense of what you went through? And I'm sure they're grateful to have Dad back and mobile, partly as a result of what you're doing for Invictus as well.
Yeah, you're right there, Carl. While I was deployed, 2 of the kids here, they went through that deployment with me. They were back on the home front, so they missed Dad for 6+ months. But yeah, back at home now, Anzac Day is a special day to pay tribute and for them to remember and for them to show their respect to people in uniform now, because they've seen what it's like to be a defence family. Yeah. So yeah, it's important for them.
Good on you. Thank you so much for being with us, James and Jai. And again, thank you for your service.
Thanks
Appreciate
so much.
it.
Thank you.
Good on
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Hey there, Today fans. Sarah and...
What's my name again?
Oh my God. Carl.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel, though. Subscribe now for more news, special reports, and amazing Aussie stories.
And Carl misbehaving,
Whoa,
of course.
That never happens.
Always happens.
What's she talking about?